We are live. Hello and welcome to Lunch with the Boys. My
Woo.
name is Cody Anderson. Yeah, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. I'm joined today by Eric. You know Eric. You love Eric. He was on one of the Joey Matterhorn live shows a couple of weeks ago, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. But why don't you give everyone who doesn't know a little bit of a rundown of you and your experience while I go ahead and grab our links and push all of those live?
Sounds good. Well, if you were tuned a couple weeks ago, you had the opportunity to meet Eric Veda, but now you get to meet the man behind the mask. and
Oh,
my
yeah,
name is
yeah,
Eric
yeah, the
Gilliland.
upgrade.
Yeah, right. I have worked with Xanadu for probably 10 years, I think, and I've worked alongside Cody for a good half of that. So we're good buddies, and I do a whole bunch of stuff at Xanadu. I do a lot of mostly software development, some consultation sort of stuff, and I mean Xanadu is really a mixing pot of brilliant minds, and I'm happy to be one of those minds.
Yeah, which actually I maybe that's a really good spot for us to start off on because I want to mainly dive into some of the software that we're developing that we're using and going to be part of the Joy Matterhorn tool belt.
Mhm.
It's not often we really get to dive in on all of these, and you have a much better understanding of all of these software than Jordan and I do.
Mhm.
Jordan and I know how they function and kind of why we need them enough so that we can write some content for our front end website. We're not in there actually creating them or just making the decisions on how they all function. So
Mhm.
that was my game plan for all of this. But I kind of want to dive in. How did you get into the position you are with Xanadu? Like you are in like such a unique spot with Xanadu. And
Yeah.
I'll be straight up. I know most of this story, but I'm curious if you have any details you want to share with the cast.
Well, it started off with a Craigslist ad, as, all
Was
great
it actually
stories do.
Craigslist? He was. I
Craigslist.
do. Joe talks about running Craigslist ads like every other year. I feel like he brings it up. It never dies. But
Yeah.
continue.
Well, I mean, Joe was he did really well in Craigslist when he first started because it was, I think he had a unique offer in the right place, and it was just kind of
Mhm.
good circumstances. I responded to a Craigslist ad that was written by Pierre, actually, it was written by him, and,
Actually,
yeah, and
oh.
I'll be honest, it was really cryptic and, it was riddled with yellow and red flags.
That,
But
to be fair, that's I feel like that's almost the vibe because at that point it was basically a startup environment, which I think if you're on TikTok or any of these short form content places these days, you've probably seen the red flags related to being in a startup. So
right. Yeah, and it was just like, "Hey, we're looking for someone to build websites and work in this affiliate marketing company and help us out." And, I met Joe at Panera Bread in Grand Haven, and, we had a conversation, and he was like, "When can you start? Can you start, like, today? Because I need a guy." And it was Kyle. I don't know if we've talked about Kyle, but Kyle is a developer who predates me,
mhm.
who's built a lot of our CRM infrastructure. Really talented guy, has a great team of people handling that stuff. And then my initial role was to come in and just build forward-facing websites, and I did. I built a couple different WordPress websites, and very quickly, I think one of the attitudes around Xanadu is like, well, what can you do? And how can we use that? Like what skills do you
Yeah.
bring to the table? And my skills were really more in other things. It really wasn't centered in web design, it was more web development and site building. And I just started to kind of voice up and be like, hey, we could build this, that, or the other if you want an e-commerce store, a social network, or things like that. And I think it just sort of expanded the width of how we thought, because we were thinking really minimally for a long time and sort of a limited scope, like, okay, well, I got a CRM and I can do websites, and what can I do with those things? But as we started to say, hey, we can build function, we can build user accounts, we can build payment portals, then all the powers that be started to think, okay, well, if we can do those things, then we don't need offers. We can run our own products and services, and we can run through those. And I think that's where we've been going for the entire time I've been here. It's been, how can we become more autonomous as a company through building more properties that we own? And that really is exactly what led us into the softwares that are part of the Joy Matterhorn tool belt.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the, like you mentioned working at Xanadu, and I touch on this quite a bit, especially recently. Our company, Good Rep, we're hiring for a media coordinator. If you want to go check it out on the website, you can go do that. There's an application up there. Would love to hear from you. We are entering the final round, so maybe it's a little bit late for that. But in that interview process, I like to mention that Xanadu Good Rep were a really great opportunity for advancement and being heard. When you end up with like a lot of these big companies, you are put into a role without the ability to express yourself. Like you answer that Craigslist ad or the Indeed ad, and you are set in your role, and your day to day is doing A, B, C, and D, which is a very, very positive thing for some people. They need to have that kind of structure. But my experience in marketing has been much more wear every hat. Where are your skills? Where can you step in and actually take ownership of a project, and advance the company? Like there, you need to have some buy-in, and that's very much a startup atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so when I describe the company, I'm like, hey, if you want to provide a little bit of buy-in, you're going to get some buy-in back. You get rewarded for those types of things
Yeah.
a lot more quickly than I think at almost any other company out there. Uh, I don't think I would have been able to advance as quickly at any other company as I have with Xanadu. Like, I'll be real.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I've worked with, so I'm in the unique position that I've been a contractor forever. It's the only
Hmm.
position I've ever had. I've never been employed in this industry. And I've worked with a lot of agencies, and there are stigmas around marketing and advertising and development and tech, right? We can just call it that.
Yeah.
And the stigma is that it is like misogynistic and elitist and cool kids club. And that is beyond true. I mean, I've seen, honestly, I've been in meetings and I've seen terrible treatment of women, minorities. Like it's very real. And it's like
Yeah.
sad to say. Xanadu is kind of genuinely sort of insulated from that. Like I feel like we really don't have those sorts of issues. Um, and I
Mhm.
feel like everyone has an equal voice. Like if someone who may be lower on the totem pole has a good idea, no one's like, "Oh, you're low, so you don't know." It's you're
Yeah.
low, so you have a different perspective. And let's hear your perspective. I mean, the worst problem we'll have is too many cooks in the kitchen, and normally it'll be like,
That happens quite often, but
yeah. But I mean, think of it like this: you ever watch, like, Chopped, one of those cooking shows where they have a whole bunch of
yes.
people, and it's just mania for the first half of the show, and then by the end of the show, you get, like, 2 people who are zeroed in, and they're focused, and I think that's kinda how it goes with us too. I mean, we have that big manic, like, everyone's just excited about an idea, and we're tossing around, and everyone's just, bouncing off of each other's energy, and then as that sort of starts to distill, we see the people who are genuinely invested in the idea, really wanna participate, 'cause there'll always be the couple of people who are like, "Hey, this one speaks to me." Like pet owners, we have the pet owner people running the pet stuff.
Yeah.
And we've got the astrology crystal people running the astrology crystal stuff. So I mean, there's matching that occurs. And then, through that, you have a team, and it works out kinda good. Just like shaking the shaker until all the sand falls through, and you're left with some rocks and diamonds.
Well, and we're in a very interesting position because we're in the business of creating offers and finding ways to monetize those offers. So right now, I feel like marketing in general is moving much more towards branding. Your brand is pretty much your voice, and so when we go in and we have a group of people who are interested in crystals or meditation or pets or t-shirts or anything in
Mhm.
particular, we're able to kind of step in and be like, okay, cool. Well, we have everything you might need to create a Shopify t-shirt store. So
Mhm.
like if you want to do that, we can do that. Like we can spend time, energy, and effort on doing it. Come up with the game plan. What's your monetization? How are you going to come up with the designs? Are you going to be able to create this, t-shirt store? And we do that. The thing is, I feel like the too many cooks in the kitchen is definitely an issue we run into quite a lot because
Mhm.
we will start with a group of 50 people and it's like, hey, if we made a t-shirt store, what should it be? And you have a group of 50 people in a group chat who are like, well, we should make this. And that's a lot of different ideas.
Yeah.
But I almost want to say you're right. We're in a better position because I'd rather have 50 people giving ideas than a chat with 50 people and none of them are giving ideas or responding to a message.
Yeah.
Like you have to train up those people who are willing to step in and say, "Hey, this is my idea," and then get lucky and find the ones who are willing to own it and walk it from start to finish.
Yeah. We we also have like a really great blend of generations and cultures and backgrounds. Like
Hmm.
it's diverse. It's really diverse,
Yeah,
especially age-wise, and everyone kinda weighs in, and it's really cool when you can see, like, the Gen Z millennials sort of throw in their 2 cents with the Gen Xers and the boomers and sort of see, like, how all of that distills out because, millennials I mean, pull out of my ass example, but, like, and having a startup that has a name like, I weird spelling, but it's 5 letters and it's real cool, right?
Maptimizer,
Maptimizer, yeah, but drop the E, Maptimizer, Um, where the
Maptimizer,
Maptimizer dot AI
or
or whatever
Vibe.
else, all the dots, and, but then the people who are older are like, "Hey, dot coms only, make it make sense, make it so I know what I'm getting into," and we sort of find the balance, we look
Mhm.
and say, "Okay, what's the demographic? What's the audience for this product?" And we have that demographic is somewhere in the company.
Yeah,
We can be like, "Hey, you are this person. Talk to me," you know?
yeah, and I think it's also worth noting, like, our people are generally comfortable stepping up and voicing an opinion, even
Yeah.
if it is the dissenting opinion,
Mhm.
and they are not derided for the dissenting opinion. Like,
Yeah.
it is never a, "Hey, we're a homogenous here, and you have something that doesn't belong here, get out." It is much more of a, "Hey, okay, so you think differently. What maybe we should look at this, double check. Everyone, look at what this person said. Do we still feel the same as we were, or are we changing our opinions?" And I think it speaks to Joe especially,
Mhm.
how willingly he is to listen to outside opinions and change his own opinion on them.
Yeah.
He has come into something with the idea of like, "Hey," I think a really good example is the idea of like writing ads that you won't read. He writes awful ads. They are absurd. He
Mhm.
randomly capitalizes letters in the middle of words, in the middle of sentences, it misspellings. Like, his ads are crazy. The thing is, he comes into it and he's like, "Hey, so I do this and it works and I know why it works." And he'll explain why. And he'll be like, "But I'm listening to you. You would never click that ad. We're not running a this type of ad." It's worth noting those ads are for old those were the Craigslist ads. You probably answered something like that from Pierre,
Yeah.
but not one of Joe's where it was misspelled in the middle. But those were the types of ads that he used to run, were credit repair and like housing ads and things like that. But nowadays, it's like, okay, if I'm doing a t-shirt brand, maybe that's not what the ad needs to be. And so he'll listen to outside people when they tell him, "Hey, we need to do something different for a t-shirt ad."
Yeah, yeah.
He usually always goes back to the misspelled words, but
Well, it's also worked, and
mhm,
I remember within the first month of meeting Joe, I went to his house when he still lived in Michigan, and he pulled up his laptop and he was like, "Hey, I'm about to send my email that I send through Aweber." And he's like, "Check this." He was flexing a little bit, right? But it's a
mhm,
fair flex. He's like, "I'm about to send this email to like 7 figures of people, and I
yeah,
will make at least $80,000." It was something like that. It's like, I'm about to make $8,000 when I click this button. And I was like, "Can I see the email?" He's like, "Of course, that's why I'm showing you off." So he shows me the email, and it's exactly like you said. He shows me what he shows me is this plain text. Just it said like, "Get good credit rates here. Dot 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 dot. Click here now." Bold link, and it's like 10 of these, all different ellipses. And I was like, "So is this like what you send to that writer guy, and then he makes it nice?" And then it
he,
goes to
he
a
he
designer
writes
who
your
then
email.
makes that nice, and he goes, "No, I send this." And I went, "How? How do you do that?" And he goes, "Be," and it was the first time he said it, and it, he says, "Because, you know, well, to the people who click our things, he said some people are stupid, and some people,
Hmm.
this is what speaks to them." And, he's like, you're like a web developer." He's like, "You would never click this, but someone who genuinely needs some of these things will." And let it be known, I mean, these are all real programs. Like, we very rarely talk about how much all those housing programs actually did for people, but we got people into homes. Like
Yeah.
it's sort of crazy that we talk so much about connecting with people. And when you talk about connecting with people, and when you live in the advertising hellscape that we all live in, where everything is advertising something to you, um, you forget that there's an actual product on the other end because there's so much focus on the connection and like how do we get in their minds, how we get in front of these people's eyes and penetrate their brains. And that's just marketing. If you're in this world, this is how you talk, this is how you think, because that's how you have to think. um but there's some really good things, like there's some really
Yeah.
great things that all these advertisers and marketers are able to connect people with. So it did great stuff, for a long time. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a huge percentage of AWeber's total sends were just these messages.
Which is kind of crazy to think about. But I mean, it goes back to one of the things we talked about on Jordan and I talked about on another episode where you're talking about what makes a good marketer, like what attributes make a good marketer, what attributes make a good salesman. And we brought up, did you ever watch King of the Hill?
Yeah, pretty religiously for a while.
What do you think made King of the Hill, Hank Hill himself, such a great propane salesman?
Uh, he genuinely loves propane. Well,
Yeah,
and he
100%.
and he's
That
he's
is
also just a
exactly what
matter
we
of fact, no BS kinda guy too.
Yeah, but I want to say like our biggest conclusion during that segment was it's the love of propane. He loves his product. He believes in his product that he's selling. And
Mhm.
so when you go into these different, products, you're selling a service, you're, doing affiliate marketing. If I'm promoting Credit Karma and Credit Karma has fixed my credit and gotten me into a house, then I'm going to promote Credit Karma. I've
Yeah.
got a really good story. I've got a brand that I'm really sitting here and ready to promote. And the thing is, there are a lot of different brands out there. Like you think about first time home buyers. How many people are out there actually first time home buyers that have gone into these different programs and have taken advantage of these FHA loans, whatever.
Mhm.
You have a bunch of different opportunities. And so we talk about, yeah, okay, he sent a bad looking email to, a million people. We're not trying to disparage or anything like that. It's more so acknowledging, like, hey, we were offering these services and this is what these people responded to because that's what they're used to seeing. That was
Yeah.
the benefit of it. It didn't look scammy and spammy and like they were trying to do a hoity toity service that was going to cost a whole bunch of money. Like, you've
Yeah.
gotten those emails, right? Where
No,
you like
and
open it and you're like, oh, I can't afford this.
that's that's exactly it, because if there was one thing I really learned from being at Xanadu, it is, polish is not as important as you think it is. It really is a matter of just doing whatever the thing is you're trying to do. Um, and I was gonna say to the point earlier, I don't want to tangent too much from what we're talking about now, but we do a lot. We have so many lines in the water. We are like a charter fishing ship that just keeps throwing lines in the water. And not every one of those lines is gonna hook.
No.
Only a couple will. And we have protocols to sort of gauge, like, okay, we've given this the old college try, it's time to either pivot or ditch, and try something different. And we do a great job of learning. We do great all that stuff, all the tech buzz stuff, where every experience you have to learn from. We do all that very, very well. And we have plenty of things that have failed that you're not failing if you do, right? Something like that. I mean, so many things that have not gone on to be $1 million products that have just been rolled into new things. The experience was rolled into something, someone learned something or picked something up. There's just so much that happens every time you do something. But to do it, you have to lift your hands and you have to go and try.
Mhm.
And it's just great practice. I mean, at the end of everything, it's a good scrimmage game. um
Yeah.
but yeah, I did lose what I was saying. So I'll kick it back to you for a second.
No, 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 no. I think it's one of the most valuable skill building jobs that you can have. I
Yeah.
100% think that the past 5 years that I've worked for Joe, which we're coming up, I think in a month and a month and a couple days, is going to be my 5 year anniversary working
Nice.
with Joe and Joey Matterhorn and all that. But my skill set since working with Joe has expanded exponentially because I've been able to dive in pretty much any project that I wanted to grow my skill set, so long as I can actually handle my bandwidth and handle the job that's going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember I got hired to send text messages. It was, hey, I'm sending out these emails. I also want to send out texts. So I got this text that's working. I just need people to go in and do it. And so I was hired for a do step one, do step two, do step three, figure it out.
Mhm.
And so we started doing that. And me and a couple of my coworkers were like, hey, let's improve this process. Let's make it a little bit better. And let's find some people that we can do it for them as well as do it for Joe, our boss, and we can
Mhm.
earn a little bit of profit from them. And boom, the partner program was born. And we ran that for a couple of years. And I'm pretty sure Micah, the guy that I was working with back at the time, Jay, sadly no longer with us, RIP Jay. But I want to say not dead. He's moved on to email in the music industry. So,
Yeah, I'm still
like,
gonna bless him though, because 'cause I'm Catholic. I can't resist that.
yeah, he went to big corporation, I think. So a little bit more stable, probably a little bit more consistent, so that he could focus on his side projects. Which, I mean, as someone with a side project, I'm sure you can understand wanting the stability.
Yeah, for sure.
It helps.
Yeah.
Uh, but with that said, I was just getting into the idea that been with Joe for forever, and my advancement has been phenomenal with him, which has been super, super nice to see.
Yeah. Oh, what
Rip the homie
ripped the whole
Jordan in chat here.
what I was gonna say about, the emails was my reaction to seeing those was, "Why aren't these glossier?" And he said, "Because glossy isn't gonna work." You know,
Hmm.
like, you can't do that. And here were some of the other points too, like, he was like, "Well, when they open this, it's right there. It's because plain text emails will display immediately. There's no click to view, allow this, or any of that. It's right there. Um, so people can just see it. They can just click it. You know, they can just read the words. And they were, at the end of everything, they were poignant. And it was like, here's what you're getting if you click this. Here's what you're getting if you click this. You know,
Yeah.
we just were so used to when you're on the marketing side, I wonder if it even comes from that thing that drives humans to want to feel valuable. It's like we have to do more. So I
Mhm.
did work, you know. You can't think it's so difficult for us to think that just one thing simpler is better because we have hours that we're putting into stuff, you know. We're like we're
Mhm.
billing time. How can I bill my time and only deliver this one simple thing? If it works, it'll be good, you know?
Yeah.
Like I mean, when you find like a winning advertisement for like a Facebook ad or something, you don't need to revamp it completely every month just to earn your keep. I mean, what matters is that it's converting and working. And sometimes
Yeah.
maintaining something is the best thing to do, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting, which I mean, maybe a little bit of a good segue into why good rep even exists. When you find that thing that's working, you don't always need to, mess with it, try to do more with it. Sometimes it's good to keep it going and then branch out and find other things. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's Joe's general MO is, hey, we're going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. And now I've figured it out. And this is great. In order to insulate myself in case this industry ever goes belly up, this company stops functioning, this offer gets taken away, calling goes down, texting goes down, I'm going to transition into doing something else. So
Mhm.
I remember he started with sending out those emails. Well, he transitioned that into, okay, I'm doing emails. If email ever goes away, if something ever changes, I need to do something else. So he got into texting. Texting was a good way to earn more money. It was a good way to learn a new industry. So he expanded from texting into call centers, and basically went from that to expanding into other industries. So he's grown from just a little email to now, hey, I can do whatever brand I want. I can work in personal loans, I can work in software, I can work in, digital boutique digital marketing agency for small businesses. I
Mhm.
can do all of these things because I have this background in all of affiliate marketing and this background in knowledge.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, pro and con, do you think it's better to expand outwards than dig deep into the industry? I've seen Joe talk about it a few times where he's like, I want to expand just in case something goes down. I think even today he sent a message about it. So, like, would you rather dig deep in one industry or expand out?
That's a good question. I think it depends a lot on, I mean, not to pass the buck on it, but I feel like it depends a lot on the resources you have. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we have this unique, well, let's look at us. I mean, we have
Mhm.
a pretty solid team of developers building all sorts of really intricate, detailed enterprise stuff kind of all the
Yeah.
time. And they are just optimizing these existing things. So, I mean, KP and Lead Branch allowed us to no longer require a CRM. When we required a CRM, um, it was almost deal breaking how much that can cost. When you're dealing with the amount of records that we're dealing with, it is a tremendous amount of information. We almost had to have that. Texting was the same. If we were using something like Klaviyo or one of those,
Yeah.
softwares like that, they're really designed for like a small business who has a couple thousand people in foot traffic. They're not designed for
Mhm.
this giant national push that we do. And when you're dealing
Yeah.
with that size, you just have to have your own infrastructure. Well, once you build the infrastructure, you have the infrastructure. So then it's like,
Mhm.
what can we do with this? And I think, we basically have one of the biggest promotion engines in, I mean, I want to say the country. I feel like it might be. It's a huge
I mean,
engine.
we
And
do really
all
well.
yeah. And all we got to do is put something into it.
Mhm.
So with that, I mean, I guess it makes sense for us to do things that can just connect right into that machine. So that means, well, I mean, like I said, we just put together an astrology offer of our own. And a lot of things that are connected to that made sense. Well, we don't have to worry about the texting and the emailing and the connecting. We will That's covered. That part's
Yeah.
easy. The When I first met
We've
Joe
got
on
it all in house. We've got it all at cost. We've got it all handled. We're not going to need to go pay for a new Klaviyo account so we can handle SMS and go
Yeah,
get it set up at MailChimp with a new whatever. We don't need
yeah,
to worry about all of those things. We don't need to worry about handling logins. We can set it all up ourselves, control it all 100%. And I think
yeah,
that's extremely valuable. I One of the things that I don't think a lot of people at the company think about, at least, like that is so valuable that we have. And it is, like I said, Joel comes in and he's like, I want to make a t-shirt company, I want to make a lawn care company, I want to make a marketing agency. Yeah, we can do all of these things,
yeah,
and we can do it because we have these tools, all of these software, which honestly you've helped build quite a few of them, haven't you? Right?
yeah. I mean,
At least some of the more recent ones.
it all started with, and before Apex, because Apex Page Builder is what you came up on.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you and like your wave was really trained on and was employing for all the stuff that you were doing, texting and stuff. Previous to that, and it's kind of a funny story. So I pay a lot of attention to my team and myself, what consumes our time. Partly
Mhm.
because I have to be critical of it every time I write a bill. Um, and when that's going to busy work, like day to day stuff, to me, that's not optimal. So, what was happening was at the time, Joe was hitting me up with all these requests multiple times a day to change offer IDs and thank you pages and constantly updating thank you pages. And it was literally kind of a joke. I took like a weekend and I made a website called Complete These Offers. And I don't know if it was called Complete These Offers at the time, but it was a thank you page builder where he could go
Mhm.
in and he could just build his own thank you pages. And I kind of sent it to him and I was like, "Here, you do it. Go, you tell me that you know WordPress and all that. This is easier than that. You change your own thank you pages." So I can focus on the stuff that I'm really trying to do, because that, how it is. The day-to-day busy work can kind of drag down everything you're trying to get pushed forward.
Oh yeah.
And when we're sharing hats, that just kind of happens. And he was like, "Wait, this is like amazing." And he did use it. And I thought I was calling a bluff. I thought he wasn't going to. He was in there. He made flows. He went crazy. He was like, can you help me so I can do offer
You
walls
daisy
and
chained pages together.
yeah, he was chaining pages together, and I was like, "Oh, what have I done?" And then he was like, "Whatever you just made, this is your thing now. You build this." And, and Complete These Offers wound up having so many features, cool features. And one of the things that was really unique and distinct to us that we still do when we can, but browser things, they're always tightening up stuff. And it's not to say we were ever doing anything sketchy. It's just, the industry wants to get tighter and tighter and tighter. You
Hmm.
need more and more levels of permission to probe people. Something we would do is we would have, when you clicked a link, it would pop out in a new tab, and then it would, what we call a roll under, it would roll under the previous tab. So you'd open up your new window, but then the window where you were would become something else. So maybe you don't see that window right away, especially on mobile. You might, when you're cleaning up your tabs, you might run into it, but it's there, and we kind of implanted it. And that alone would, I mean, so much arbitrage that we were able to generate just through things like that. And that was like a really unique feature that we had. These double pops is what we call them. And actually, for a while, we could even triple, quadruple, quintuple pop. Google Chrome lets you do as many new tabs as you wanted. We only did that like once or twice. Then we were like, we shouldn't either.
I I hate that, but also I remember Joe when I first started. So it's a very similar situation, and I love this about Joe. And I keep saying Joe, Joe is Joey Matterhorn. He goes by Joey
Mhm.
Matterhorn when he gets in front of the camera because everyone likes to have a camera persona. It's why I'm actually Code. Did you know? I go by Cody when I get on. Anyways, yeah, I got you with that one. I'm actually a little proud. I shouldn't be, but I am. Anyways, Joe is just he's such a kind man. But
Mhm.
when you start, like I started as a low level text messenger, but he still brought me out to breakfast like the second week that I was there, the first week that I was there with the company, he brought like all of us out. Or maybe he had it like delivered. Like he did breakfast with everyone.
Mhm.
And I loved it because he came out and he just chatted with everyone. He wanted to like talk about ideas. And the one thing I miss about being in the office is when he would come around after hours or during break times and he'd just kind of like walk over to where our cubicles were and be like, "Hey, so let's come up with a t-shirt company name. Like let's
Mhm.
come up with a URL and you guys are going to look it up and go daddy while I just shoot ideas at you." And
Yeah.
we're just going to like brainstorm for 30 minutes. And it was a fascinating time because I'm a low level employee. I'm sending out texts for this guy and he's over here like, "Okay, yeah, interesting. You'd go shop at cringe-t-shirts.net or something like that." Like, yeah, I would go shop at Cringe T-shirts. Give me a cool logo. Like, phenomenal, but I feel like that's a unique scenario that doesn't happen at very many companies. Like,
Yeah.
have you had many companies where you, go out to eat with the CEO as much as you do with Joe?
No. And it's because of the elitism. And I mean,
Mhm.
Joe, I
Oh,
mean, I'll let him come on and talk to all this, but
he's given his background on this pod at least a little bit. He started,
yeah.
he has a background in realty. He worked the line at Ford. He did all that.
Mhm.
So he's given a little bit of a rundown.
He's someone who, like, appreciates and understands the value of just good relationships and good connections and people. And,
Yeah,
I think if there's a flaw in that, it's that sometimes he focuses too much on it. And I think,
yeah.
but he's sort of self-admitted on that too. It's that line between, like, let's get in the trenches with the troops, but also I'm needed in the Oval Office. And
Mhm.
both are valuable. Both are really
Yeah.
valuable. And I would say that one leads to the other. I think he's someone who's very, I don't want to say easily inspired because that makes it sound not as valuable, but he's able to become inspired easily. I can't find a better way to say it.
Mhm.
But when he spends time with
He
people,
has a lot of ideas.
yeah, and they sort of come alive through, I mean, it's
Mhm,
really just people getting together can do this, but he's very productive, it's very intentional, and he'll get together and be like, "Hey," he's always open, and you can just casually say something even when it's off work hours, and he'll be like, "There's something there," and he'll just sort of, like, stew on it a little bit and cook something up, because he's the one who's balancing all that. Like we said, there's that whole network of tools, there's this whole infrastructure sitting behind this
mhm.
company, sitting within it. And he knows that better than anyone. So he really is just playing this giant chess game of like, okay, we have a texting division and an email division, and that would work well with what he said over here. And then we kick that over to the media team and then social. And he's able to concoct the web because he's the keeper of all the ingredients. And
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's one of those skills that, I guess it's I guess I'm describing a CEO.
I
He
was just
does
gonna
great
say,
at being
yeah.
a CEO,
Well,
yeah.
it's like the CEO project manager almost combo where they're involved in everything. And the one issue with Joe and that he himself has been trying to move towards is he doesn't want to be in the day to day. He wants to spend more time in that kind of CEO role of looking at all those things because
Yeah.
he ends up in a scenario where he gets into the day to day and he's like, I need you to create this website. And then the people who are creating the website are like, okay, why? And he's like, well, I need it for all of these reasons back here,
Mhm.
but I can't explain that to you. And so he ends up in a scenario where it's like, okay, well, I need it done, do it. And I can't explain to you all of that why, but I need it for this project. Okay, cool. And so the people start doing it, but Joe goes back to looking at all those high level things and they're like, wait, 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 does this need to be a corp? Do I need to make terms of service? Is this the right URL? They don't have anyone to go to for questions except for the CEO, and that's not
Right.
where you should be going. And so
Yeah.
we're working on that kind of like organizational aspect,
Yeah.
but I think that's just a product of our own like growth, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I
And
think the company right now is the biggest it's been.
in
Maybe not ever.
it's good though, and I mean,
Yeah.
we're doing well in a time where companies like this typically aren't. And,
Yeah.
I mean, for a million reasons, but I remember whenever I would meet people who were new hires, one of the things I really tried to help them understand is you're gonna pour your heart and soul into some things, and then those things are gonna get tabled, possibly indefinitely. And
Mhm.
that is because we just move that fast. Like we just move that fast where sometimes it's and this is something that I would even say is a creative thing, like a plague of creators, is that
Yeah.
as you go, your mind starts to simulate the future. And the further you get in, more accurately you can simulate. And sometimes when you have like, let's say I got 3 projects that are all kind of cooking, I can look and be like, that project right there is the one that really has the biggest potential. So I'm far enough down the line where I'm now going to make the decision to optimize our communal bandwidth and direct it just into that one thing because I've now seen enough to know that's the one that has legs. And it's really good decision making. You're still kind of, I don't want to say gambling, you're kind of still hoping, you're inferring and definitely just hoping a lot.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty standard thing that happens. I think people are just so um it's so foreign how much stuff is going on. And
Yeah.
you have to be able to bounce around and, shift gears because it's tough otherwise.
Yeah, and I think that again goes back to the like what type of people make good marketers. It's the people with ADHD. It's the people who are
Yeah,
willing
it's
to
true.
jump around to a bunch of different topics. The ones who are
Mhm.
willing to kind of deep dive and get in there. Like I think in marketing, we are probably some of the most diverse people because I
Mhm.
mean, you've been to some of these like events, some of these affiliate summits, and some of these conventions with marketers all across from like whether it be content people, SEOs, or affiliates, or pubs or anything else. We are very, very different people.
Mhm.
I don't think that you can have one image of what a marketer looks like or what they do because we are as varied as the people that we market to. And I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. Now, mind you, I think one of the biggest skills that you need to be successful in marketing is to be able to do all of the different topics. Like, you need to be able to jump in and learn all the software. You need to be able to jump around to a bunch of different projects and
Mhm.
excel at all of them before. I mean, I'm trying to think of any marketing companies that don't have like all of those divisions filled out where they kind of advance and do a lot more. There's just ad companies. I know just ad companies exist,
Yeah. I mean, you've
but
got advertisement centric, you've got search centric, you've got design, you've got brand. I mean, they're and it always makes more sense to have something all inclusive, just because the conversation's consistent and there's like cohesiveness across all that.
Mhm.
And that's always I haven't even had this experience in a long time, but like 10 years ago, I used to be like, a company would come to me and say, "Here's our branding document from the branding agency with all the
Mhm.
rules and guidelines for you now to follow when you do social media, web design, whatever else." And they would pay a company to go through and they specialize in this stuff. So the compliance is there, specific language, tone of voice, a lot of these sort of things, colors, logos, where do you put these things, templates and stuff. And they just hand you the sort of toolkit. Um, and you look at that and you're like, why just do this? Why would you pass this on to someone else? Um,
Yeah.
but it's because they specialize, like deep, deep specialize into those different
Yeah.
things they're doing.
That's kind of crazy. Marketing in general is just kind of crazy. But then that gets into what makes us kind of different. And I do want to get back to the software capabilities that we have and kind of what we were talking about earlier about like, okay, you had complete these offers. What did complete these offers turn into?
Complete these offers turned into Apex Page Builder, and Apex Page
Which
Builder.
that's the one. I do
Yeah,
know Apex. Apex was glorious. I did not use it as much as some people,
yeah,
but it did quite a bit.
it was a powerhouse, and, we here was the really cool thing about that, and here's, I think, the thing that makes having your own software team super nice. They would come to me, and really anyone in the company would come to me and be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, it'd be really nice if." I mean, that's like the phrase that the developers hear is, what would be really nice?
This
And,
sounds so cool.
yeah, like 80 to 90% of those things I think we were normally able to deliver. And one of them was super simple, was every page had an ID, like a system ID in the system, in the database and all. And all we did was at the very bottom of the page, we would print it in little numbers. So you could go to the bottom and it would be like 2048, and that's the page ID for that page. So when you have pages with a million different names and titles and every other thing, you could just scroll down, grab that, go find the page and make the changes. And it solved so much headache. I mean, dozens, if not hundreds of hours were saved and shaved because we just had this quick reference tool, and it just made sense. It's when you're the builder, you can do whatever you want. If I were doing it through, Wix, or I don't even know what a landing page builder might look like what fresh pages, and there's all those different this page,
Mhm.
that page things. They're not gonna have you can't go to them and say, "Can you just print the ID at the bottom?" They'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, you just became an enterprise client, and that's gonna cost $20,000." But for us, we're just doing it because it makes sense. And even when
Yeah, and
outside clients would come and say, "Could we have XYZ?" I know Texcalibur had a ton of things where they would say, like,
mhm.
"Could we just have these features?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, makes sense. We'll use them too. Everyone will use
Yeah.
them. Those are good ideas. Who's gonna know better than the user?"
Well, exactly. And I think that is the importance here because we are creating these products and we are using them and we are coming in and being like, hey, this is a use case. Like, especially with Apex Page Builder, a lot of what we were doing was cloning of pages,
Yeah.
which is where you end up with the title of the page, copy of, and then all of a sudden you have copy of like 8 times over because you're that deep into copying this page. It looks nothing like the original, and that's why
Mhm.
you're like, wait, which one of these is actually the one that we're using as the thank you page right now? Oh, you need the ID so you can just search for it and go grab it. So
Yeah.
you created a solve for a use case of how the users were making pages because that's how people were doing it, which was, I mean, weird, maybe not the right way to do it. But you can also look at that and be like, okay, well, how do we make that easier on the people who are duplicating pages? Why are they duplicating pages? Stuff like that. And I think we looked at that. We just didn't come into a solution because we were going to move on to the next iteration of Apex Page Builder, which is,
Lander page.
yeah,
And
which is the good one, the big one, the one that's almost ready, mostly ready. I think we
yeah,
can do signups right now.
we can do signups. It is, I can't really speak to where the sales team is on this. I can speak to what's built. And we
Yeah.
have it's functional. I mean, we use it internally,
Yeah.
daily.
We've been using it internally for a couple months now, right?
Yeah, if not longer.
Okay.
I mean, it's where owned and operated live now pretty well. anything new that gets built is getting built there. And anything that was pre-existing, as it gets phased and redone, we're shifting
Mhm.
it. So, we're kind of getting it over there. Um, you said something about kind of like the ID at the bottom, and
Mhm.
it prompted me to say, if you're asking people to change how they use your thing,
Mm.
you you're probably missing the mark,
Yeah.
because it's not your job to tell people how to use. Well, sometimes it is. If someone comes in and says, "I have no idea what I'm doing. How do I do this?" Then you say, "Okay, well, here's our software and here's how it works and here's how we use it." But if they come
Here's
and
the demo.
say, yeah. But, like, in our case, I mean, we've been using these other things. So we're like, this is something that just iterates on top of that. Lander page functions a lot like all the other page builders we've had. There's a nice big table of all your pages that you can browse and find them. You can search, you can drill down by ID or tags or all these great things, title, keywords, whatever you got. And you can find what you need to find, and then, clone, make edits, do all that stuff. It's a drag and drop builder. It's a really simple. Everything's nice and center aligned, so you're not worried about styling. And we do get people who say, "I wish I could build more robust pages. I wish this were like a full website builder." And I'm like, "Well, it's not. It's not a full website builder. It wasn't designed
That
for that."
that's not what that is not the question we're looking to answer. We are looking to do something specifically, and so we're accomplishing that specific task,
Yeah.
which is creating landing pages.
Yeah, and it does that great. I mean, in moments, and there's a template library for different use cases and different industries. There's different forms. Right now, we're working on a component-based form builder. So,
Mhm.
and this is a big deal for us
Yeah.
internally, because for the first time, you're going to be able to build whatever the heck form you want, put whatever you want on it, and fire all that data into your CRM of choice. So, it's a lot of power. um, I think a lot of people that we've talked to have been like, they're like, "You can build pages, you can build forms. What's really special about this?" And I'm like, "Well, what's special is if you were to do, I mean, baseline, if you were to do this on your own, I don't think there are many services that have page builder and form builder both bundled together to the level of complexity that we're able to offer, for an affordable price. Because the second you start doing anything with forms, even WordPress, if you're trying to do something with forms, your cheapest option is what, Gravity Forms, which is a good $90 a year or something like that. I mean, it's
Oh, we spend 300 plus on gravity forms a year, and that's what we generally use for most of our forms when we're required to use WordPress or anything like that.
yeah,
And even then, it's worth noting we've custom iteration plugins. You guys have custom
yeah,
iteration plugins on top of gravity forms. So I am super excited to get some type of form plugin available because
yeah,
I'm just imagining getting that up and like actually, hey, this is our plugin builder to
yeah.
compete with Gravity Forms. It works with everything. Here we are.
You can bet it wherever you want. And
Exactly.
I mean, when you're in control of it and you're the one building, I mean, again, you can do whatever you need, whatever you want. And if other people come through and say, "Hey, could it do this or this?" You can make it happen. Gravity Forms, what would I even have to do? I mean, it would have to be a plugin on top of it. I guess we have done that. We've built other plugins. But I mean,
Well, exactly.
yeah, to someone who doesn't have that ability, what's their option? Hire another developer and kind of cross your fingers, I suppose. Um,
Well, and so I do have a question on that, maybe somewhat unrelated, but I just messing with AI. Do you think
mhm.
AI would be able to like, hey, here's the API docs for lander page forms. Here's the API docs for whatever my CRM is. Can you make a plugin? Do you think AI is going to get to a point where it can do that?
It'll probably get you a certain way up. I mean, we use AI assisted development now.
Mhm.
I'm not a AI is complicated, so we don't have to have the whole AI conversation necessarily.
It
But I
is
w
extremely complicated, but obviously, if you have that developer knowledge, like you have that developer knowledge, so when you use AI to code, it's not doing the whole thing for you, as opposed to me, where I do not have a ton of developer code. So if I'm like, "Hey, make this thing for me, make this plugin," I'm trusting the AI develop it from start to finish because I have no context if it's correct or not.
yeah. And I mean, I think golden rule of AI is the more you know about a topic, the better your prompt
Hmm.
response is going to be, period. So if I, like, dummy example, if I go into Midjourney or one of the art AIs and I say, make me a, SpongeBob holding a hot dog, it'll make it and it's going to look like an AI image. If I say, make me a photorealistic image in the style of this and a Nikon DX9, you start adding all of these variables to tighten up your prompt. Now we have this thing that some people dare to call art. And I don't dare to do that in a live setting because I don't want to get stoned.
I
But
was wait, clip it. We're putting that one
oh no,
live.
no.
That's
God.
We got Jordan crucified talking about tipping. We got Eric crucified talking about AI. I love it, man.
um,
I'm free and clear. I haven't gotten any. Well,
That's because
let's
you're
be
the
fair. I'm not
host.
getting any
We're gonna
engagement
flip this
either.
and we're gonna role reverse and we're gonna get all your opinions on all the hot topics.
Oh, I don't even have opinions. I don't know what you're talking about. What are topics? It's been a great
Top.
show. No,
But
no, no. So,
development's the same
Landerform,
way.
Lander page, Lander forms, I think are the big one. I think those are like the ones I'm almost most excited about. One of the ones that you have not worked on directly, but tangentially, lead branch.
Mhm,
Lead branch is one we've been using internally for quite a bit, and I've been watching it get developed for years now, but we've
mhm.
rolled it out for about a year now to internal teams, and we've been doing a lot of work on that. What are your thoughts? Because I'm stoked. I'm actually really excited for this to go live. I'm really excited to get some actual like users in there. There's a
Yeah.
lot to still fix, but like I'm watching it get fixed. And
Yeah.
also, like you said, being able to go back and forth with the devs and be like, hey, I need this feature, and then to have it show up a week later, that's really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, Lee Branch, at the core of what it does, is incredible. And this is, I mean, what you just said right there, like, you put in your feature request and it gets developed. All of the things we build, by the time they hit the first sort of internal, everyone's putting their eyes on it, it's already a functional software. The problem
Hmm.
is that our internal, I mean, this is kind of how the business works. Our internal scope expands for our needs, and then we just sell that. So it's like, hey, we need, you know, I know for lead branch, there's a lot more focus on being able to poll like demographic groups. So we can go through and say, give me every woman between the age of 30 and 40 who owns a pet in the Midwest. And it will do that. That's
Hmm.
dope. Previous to that, you still could have done that, but you would have had to do it on your own. You would have had to export the leads and kind of just
And
have some,
then
Google Keep
concatenate in
filters and
Excel or
stuff.
something.
Hmm. So we're really just, building these shortcut tools that we know we're going to need. And it's the same with Lander Page. I mean, there's things in there where these are very sort of Xanadu coded approaches to things like
Hmm.
modal windows. We love modals, love a good modal. You can put
Everyone loves a
anything in
good
modal.
modal.
Um, so we have a big focus on that, on being able to add a modal over top of a page that supplements the rest of the content or maybe locks it, content locking. We do some of that. So these are just features that we're already using, so we just make them available to everyone. And
Yeah.
so I mean, what we can tell people is when you use these softwares, you get all the features of this conglomerate affiliate company. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're trying to do the sorts of things we're doing, not only do you get the tools, you almost get the sauce. You get that sort of like, here's our little secret methods,
Yeah.
if they are. I mean, here's the things we're doing to optimize and, get all the blood from the stones. These, I mean, because we have 10 years of history looking at leads and being like, how can we get more from this beyond
Yeah.
the conversion? You should have an episode called Beyond the Conversion because that
Beyond
sounds
the
really good.
you're like, wait, take notes. But
But
I mean, it's a really, really good note to take because it is like I remember when Joe first talked about Joey Matterhorn with me, and he was like, I want to be able to do this. And I was like, so you want to give everyone your secret sauce? And he's like, kind of, because no one's gonna do it. And I was like, fair. The difficulty is It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of education. Like, you do need to get in there and figure out how these software work. I think it's really funny because, like you're mentioning, if you just look at how the software functions and the features that we're focused on and how we're using them and why it does what it does, you can figure out exactly what we're doing and how
Yeah.
we're making our money. I mean, we're also very blunt and upfront about how we're making our money. We have affiliate offers. We run our own offers. We run other offers. We have a lot
Mhm.
of traffic. We buy ads. I mean, we have audiences for a lot of our brands. Like,
Yeah.
we have all of these things because we built all of these software and we're using them to generate leads. Like, we send out a text message to people who have subscribed to a lander page, and we send them a lander page. And then when
Mhm.
they see that lander page, they're like, awesome, this is exactly what I wanted because I subscribed for it. They click
Yeah.
on the link, we make money. Like, it is that simple, but it's a lot for you to figure out. And I think that's what Joey Matterhorn was kind of set up to be. That's what Joe came into it with. He's like, yeah, I'm going to give him the secret sauce because no one's going to do all of the secret sauce and no
Yeah.
one can do it like me. So I'm going to give them the tools and see if they can. Because if they start doing it and we start getting their feature requests, we can learn from them too.
Yeah. And, you know, the I mean, to that, the biggest difference between Xanadu and all of the other, I mean, I'll even just call it the marketing bros, right? Like, we know what that looks like. We know, what that demographic is.
Yep.
Um, and what happens is they strike gold and they, or they, let's say, strike oil and they just drain the swamp. They drain all that oil and then they run out of oil. And then they're like, oh, what do I do now? Well, you should have been popping more drills in the ground trying to find more oil while your one oil was paying for you to drill more oil. I mean, you instead you go and
Yeah.
get a Lamborghini and blow all your oil money on stupid stuff. Like, treat it like a business, be responsible. And I mean, so I don't want to bring this back to the music necessarily, because on the
Oh,
last
it
one we talked a little bit
always
about
comes back. I'll be real.
it always
Jordan
comes.
and I usually bring it back to Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering at least 4 or 5 times an episode. This has been
Nice.
more on point than any episode Jordan and I have ever done. We've been hitting all these topics.
Nice. Well, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I had a song that did good, and then I was like, let's do more songs like this. Kind of makes sense to
Mhm.
do more of this. And I think if you find something that pops off and takes off, I think it's just, you know, making sure, how to say it, you got to recognize that, like, there's a lot of luck in this too. It's I always kind of try to emphasize doing, because the more you do, if you sit and just craft ideas in your head and never put them out there, it's not gonna be able to do anything. Um, and then you got ego things up. There's a lot of stuff wrapped up in this, especially on the creative end. Something that Xanadu does is just does a lot. And yeah, we have a ton of things that fail, but enough things
Oh,
succeed. And if you're doing 100 things, and I mean, I think Joe's even talked to me about like the ratio of what will work and what won't. And we also have a really high will work ratio. We normally get things to do something. The needle moves at least a little bit, enough for us to take that data back and say, how can we take what we just did and what we just learned and apply it to every other thing that we do? And yeah, it's a nice ecosystem from that. So
it
when
is
you
a
use
super.
these softwares, you're
Oh,
using softwares that are built on that tremendous foundation of knowledge and tremendous foundation of experience. Um, so I think when people look at stuff and say, like, this seems simple, because I feel like I hear that one a lot. It's like, well, I can't choose from a huge list of fonts because those fonts aren't going to convert. We give you the font that's going to convert, the one that we know works. We use like one or two fonts across everything we do. We use one or two
mhm.
layouts across everything we do because we're not screwing around. This isn't, oh, I think this would look nice. No one cares what you think would look nice. What we're invested in is getting you tools that actually will work and convert. And if you can surrender a little bit of the ego to this huge swath of experts who built this stuff, they're going to do pretty good. It's like listening to a physical trainer. It's like when they're
Yeah.
like, or a personal trainer, when they're like, hey, you need to do squats. And you're like, well, I don't like squats. Okay. Well, then you're going to have a lame flat ass your whole life. You got to do squats. You tell me you want a
You
bigger
gotta
butt.
work
This
legs.
is how you get a bigger
You
butt. You know what I mean?
you can't skip leg day. I do.
Can't skip leg
Oh
day.
my goodness, I do want to call out Jordan. I already miss you, brother. He made a face. I was like, we've already been more on topic. I'll be real, man. I miss talking about D&D, which is really bad because honestly, Eric is here as one of the members of our Dungeons and Dragons group,
I
which
am.
hello, other founding Big Leaf Roleplay Collective member.
It's
He
plagued right
actually
there.
made we actually we made the t-shirt. He's the one who ordered them and like did all the fancy design work and stuff like that. So
Is it too much for me to plug where you can buy the t-shirt?
no, you can plug
I-
that.
If anyone,
We
I'll give
do you
you the
got a
link real
link?
quick.
Drop it in the chat.
Yeah,
If you want to
if
buy
anyone
our
wants the shirt, listen, Xanady is great, but if you want shirts, hold
which
on,
is
let me.
to be fair, go check out D's Tees. We do have a t-shirt store, Xanadu does. It's not related
Here,
to our Dungeons and Dragons group, sadly.
I,
We
I
just do
popped
Dungeons and Dragons on the side.
I popped it on Teams for you. That is specifically
Hell
the
yeah.
shirt that Cody and I designed. And if you want the exact one we wear, it is the green one. That color is called Heather Forest.
Ooh,
Dated a girl named Heather
hell yeah.
Forest.
I'm doing the boom. Save and show right
Love it.
there. Check it out. I'm covering up a little bit of my face here. I'll get above it. But I do want to call out Jordan. I do already miss you. I hope you're feeling better. I hope you enjoy your trip out to California. You're gonna have an awesome time. And
Of course you will. It's cold
he's
here
in chat.
now. There's no reason to
Yeah.
stay in
Well, to
Michigan.
be fair, dude, I'm ready for fall. Are you ready
I
for
am.
fall?
Yeah, pumpkin
Final
spice.
final question. You ready for fall? We gonna hit up an orchard this year?
Yeah, I'll do an orchard. Sam's Club has the bulk pumpkin spice Chobani creamer. So kill me now. I'm good. Everything I
It
needed.
is fall.
Yep, it's here.
Who knew? But awesome. Hey guys, so that has been Eric joining me. Thank you so much, Eric, for hopping on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I might bring you on next Monday, just as a heads up. We might be looking at a run back, depending on what's going on here. But for tomorrow, we're gonna have Pierre on. We're gonna talk about PubCon. We're gonna talk about content creation. Pierre, Eric, you actually mentioned him earlier as the guy who wrote your ad. So
Mhm.
Pierre's back. Pierre helps us write our content. Famous horror author, published. Actually, I think he's got a new book coming out sometime soon. So maybe we'll hear a little bit more about that on the Good Rep Media podcast tomorrow at noon. Everyone wish Jordan some good luck as he's out here. Oh, next Monday's a holiday. Oh, I forgot.
Oh, Labor
That's a
Day.
good catch. It's Labor Day. So actually, we're not going to be here because we all are part of the labor force and we're going to be celebrating our day off from the labor force.
As
So
Americans, as a good American would.
hopefully you guys get a day off. If you don't get a day off, we're going to say a prayer to the American gods for you of capitalism and money.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit morbid now, honestly. Like my my vibe just shifted like 10 degrees lower. It did get colder in this room. Ugh. But hey,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for joining me, Eric. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. A pleasure as always. And yeah, happy Labor Day.
Bye.
Yep.
Peace,
Later.
guys. See you next week and see you tomorrow.
Yep.